From all these years mixing in the box, what are the most important tips you learned that changed the way you mix?
So I for a long time have been an out of the box mixer.
Hmm.
So I learned to record and mix on recording consoles, and have slowly made the migration into the computer. And it's been very challenging for me. It was not very intuitive to me, and often the things that I would choose to do on a console just didn't work. When I did them in the computer, and it's really only more recently with a hybrid setup where I finally discovered how to get what was really important about each mix environment, because there are things about mixing in the box that are incredible that I could never do on an analog console, and I love, and I would never want to give up now. And there are some things about mixing in the analog world that were very difficult for me to replicate in the computer. And so I finally arrived in a place where I can sort of get the best of both, and I've been very happy with it. But and you were specifically asking all the years.
No, for like tips,
Mixing in the box.
for what you've learned in these years, and for people that maybe they're starting now, maybe they
Sure, yeah. Yeah, one of the mistakes that I see a lot when I'm giving sessions is I think gain structure is still relevant when you're mixing inside the computer. And so, I generally try and maintain headroom of about 6 dB, dBFS in the computer. And, I don't want things clipping in the computer. And for me, it starts to make things sound very two-dimensional and very flat when there's a lot of things that are clipping inside digital buses and digital signal paths. And so I think that is important, and people get very careless about it because, at a certain point you can readjust things here and there and try and accommodate stuff. But I learned a convention mixing in the analog world where you could not get away with doing it wrong. There was no way to recover from it. And so you get in the habit of making sure that at each stage the gain structure is right. And I think it does apply in the digital world. And so, on your drum mix, because at the end of the day, it's always easy to add more gain. Like, that's not a problem. And there's no reason to have things that are just like right up at the point of clipping inside, a digital path, a digital bus. And so, I keep, like, when I start off and I get my drum balance going, then I'll make sure it's not peaking any more than minus 6 dB, because then I have room to be able to adjust stuff. Because inevitably at some point along the way, it's like, I need a little more snare drum, I need a little more kick drum or whatever. And I want to have room to be able to make those adjustments and then not have to like redo the overall gain and, do all that stuff. And I know that there are ways to do it in the digital realm where you can offset those things on a digital bus. I know in Pro Tools, you can put a master on a digital bus, and it essentially is turning down all the signals that are sending to it. And so it would be the same as turning down the faders. But I've also run into situations or seen sessions where it's like all the faders are even sitting between +6 and +12 at the max of their range. And, for me, it just makes more sense to just start in a place where you have room to make the adjustments you need and have room to add gain where you need it, and keep everything from clipping, and really be able to use the sounds as they were recorded. It feels way more like mixing in the analog realm when I do that. And so that's always important for me.
To watch the full video, click the link below and don't forget to subscribe.